If you go to the muddy coast on many tropical and subtropical coasts and estuaries, you'll see that the coast has this fringing layer of mangroves, these short bushes with leathery leaves. It's actually not one group of plants. The mangrove habit has evolved a number of different times. And mangroves have to survive under very difficult conditions. That floods, so they have to tolerate high salt levels, and they've got a whole range of strategies. The mud contains lots of rotting material, and so there's very little oxygen in this. And so one of the strategies they have is pneumatophores, these aerial roots. And these pneumatophores mean that they can absorb air and take it down into their roots. In fact, they even store air in their roots so they can continue to function when the tide is in. And then another clever strategy they have is that they germinate. They have vivipary, and vivipary means that the seeds germinate on the parent plant, and then these drop down and they can then grow immediately. So they're given a head start in their lives. So just here, there's a seedling that's, you can see how that's dropped to the ground, and it's got this head start because it's already growing once it's dropped, and that produces its roots and produces its first leaves, and it's then growing into a full mangrove plant. So mangroves have a whole set of strategies. They're important for a range of different reasons. They have ecological interests. Lots of species are associated with mangroves. They store carbon. They have important functions in terms of nurseries for fish and crabs and shrimps. I've snorkeled in mangroves and it's just absolutely fabulous. And they're important for coastal defense. So during storms, if there's a wave that comes up, a lot of the energy of the wave is taken up as it moves through the mangrove. And so the energy is much less, it's much less destructive as it gets inland. So mangroves are important for a whole range of different reasons. They're often disappearing. They're disappearing for a whole range of reasons, including they're logged for wood and firewood and all sorts of reasons. And so there are many attempts to then restore mangroves through replanting schemes, and these have a very mixed success. There are very many replanting schemes that have been pretty catastrophic. The importance is that we need to learn the lessons from what works and what doesn't work. So we know that mangroves occur on the top half of the shore. Planting them at the bottom half doesn't work. Making sure there's the right hydrological conditions, the right currents and mud and all that sort of thing for the mangrove to persist is clearly essential. Making sure you plant the right species. Making sure that you've worked with the local community and co-designed this project. So it's going to be looked after and maintained by that local community. And with those measures, mangrove planting can be very successful. But without that, it can be very unsuccessful, as we've seen on very many occasions. So what I'm saying is that mangroves are an important ecological, economic habitat, and they're being lost in some areas, but with the right measures, we can restore them, but we need to use the evidence to ensure that we do this properly. And with luck, we're going to see a lot more of this fabulous habitat.